Good morning. I just want to say I lost my dad recently, so all the grief stories have hit me right here, and I'm feeling it. And grief is very real, and grief is honest, and it is transformative. So I want to thank Grown Up Storytime for having me here to read and for it being a transformative space that it is. Now I'm going to tell you a story. The first time I took a plane ride by myself, I was 12 years old, and my mother walked me to the gate with tears in her eyes as if she would never see me again. This, of course, was a month before September 11th, and moms were allowed to walk their children to the gate. On my third or fourth flight by myself, I flew from Dallas to Korea. This was the night before my 15th birthday, and I was visiting my uncle, who is stationed in South Korea with the US military. This was my first time traveling internationally, and the first time I'd ever been on a flight lasting longer than 2 hours. The woman who sat to my left on the flight did not speak to me, but strangely imitated me and mimicked my behavior throughout this flight. If I tried slipping on my arms folded on the tray table in front of me, she slept with her arms folded on the tray table in front of her. If I was watching the movie on the overhead televisions, she watched the movie in front of her. If I was watching the movie on the overhead television, she watched the movie in front of her. Yes, this was 2004. The only accessible televisions were attached to the ceilings, and everyone on the plane watched the same film. I'm pretty sure she even ordered the same snacks that I did from the flight attendants throughout the flight. For 12 hours, this woman mimicked what I was doing. Me, being the well-traveled young woman that I was, just went along with it. What did I care that this woman wanted to do everything I did? If anything, it was a compliment. The man sitting to the right of me on the flight was a different situation entirely. I don't remember what he looked like other than he was a middle-aged Caucasian man with red hair, a ginger. I do remember his hands being vividly sported with the yin-yang symbols the size of silver dollars. Now, this was the early 2000s, and yin-yang symbols were so cool. Yin-yang symbols were everywhere. I remember this man's tattoos because he was journaling throughout the entirety of our flight. I'm sure he had wonderful things to say about me, and the fascinating things to say about the mimic and queen who sat to my left. I wonder to this day whether or not he had taken his first trip to Korea, or if he had just gotten those hand tattoos on a trip he had taken previously, and the iconic symbol was more than just a phase to him. I like to believe that he booked a one-way flight and was meeting his long-distance lover who also had yin-yang tattoos. Upon landing in Korea, I had asked several US military members in different parts of the airport if they knew my uncle, as I had not been given clear instructions as to where I would find him upon landing. Going to instruct customs as a newly 15-year-old by myself, as a first-time international travel was wild. Spoiler alert, no one knew who I asked knew my uncle or where to even find him. I did, however, find my uncle to meet beyond the baggage claim at the international travels, which in hindsight is the perfect spot to meet someone who had just arrived. We then traveled back to my uncle's apartment on a base where we connected with my aunt and cousin who were also there to visit my uncle. Two hilariously adventurous things happened during my 2-week stint in East Asia. Listen in. One was during a weekend trip in Beijing where we discovered an American bar with a speakeasy back closet full of any DVD that you could want. The 6-by-6-foot closet was a floor-to-ceiling DVDs. Have you ever seen that? It's pretty fascinating. There's some in Brooklyn too, by the way. They were all $1, and most of which were films currently in theater in the United States. This was a jackpot. Again, this was in 2004, which was over a decade before streaming devices and services became widely accessible. And if you wanted to watch something specifically, you needed to have a physical copy of this film. And boy, did this little adventure expand my DVD collection immensely. Did I leave with $40 worth of films? Yes, I did. Did some of these films turn out to just be recordings of films from someone sitting in the theater? Yes, they did. it was a risk I was willing to take to bring back all of these new releases to my home in Texas. I was going to be so impressive to all of my friends. During my trip, I had gotten a $2 copy of Usher's newly debuted Confessions double disc expanded edition CD, which is still in my possession. This collection of DVDs leads me to the second hilarious adventure. Listen in. On one of my last days in Korea, my uncle went to work, which left me and my cousin to watch a marathon of said stolen films in the entertainment room of his apartment building. This was a large room with huge TV, comfy couch, pool table, and lots of space for a group of people to hang out. This particular day was midweek in the middle of October 2004, and for 8 days or so, my cousin and I watched back-to-back movies neither of us had seen. Pretty cool. The juicy part of this story is when we decided to watch a scary movie once the sun was down and we could watch the film in utter darkness. Of our selection of probably 2 scary films to choose from, we decided on The Ring. I had seen this film, but my cousin had not. I assured her that it was not too scary and it would be an enjoyable, spooky film for us to watch, to see in the dark. She agreed on the choice and we began watching the film. It's on. Unfortunately for us, while sitting on the couch with our backs turned away from the entrance of the room, a poor soul decided to enter the door. This poor soul was probably opening the door to play a game of pool, or to turn the TV on to watch his or her weekly sports game or guilty pleasure nighttime drama. Unfortunately for the poor soul opening the door, they did not get to play their game of pool or to watch that guilty pleasure nighttime drama, which is Grey's Anatomy for me. The door creaked open just as the spooky girl, Samara Morgan, if you may know her, who had died in a well and started crawling out the television. She crawled out of the television in the scene and proceeded to attack one of the main characters of the film in his living room. The timing of the opening door with the scene was so perfect because to us, we didn't even get to the man being attacked in the film. To us, she was crawling out of her television to attack us. The shrieks that protruded out of the 2 teenage girls who had taken over the entertainment room were probably anything unlike anything that sweet soul had ever encountered. We had never been more scared in our lives. We each crawled up on top of the couch and clutched onto each other, hoping and praying that each of us were safe from both of the scary ring girl and the person who had entered the room to kill us. Thankfully, whoever opened the door immediately closed the door. They were probably spooked by our screams, just as much as we were spooked by them. And if anything, they were probably annoyed with someone that was taking up their valuable entertainment free room time. In the end, no teenagers were harmed during this particular viewing of The Ring in 2004. The flight home included sitting in the middle of row with a family of 5. Far less dramatic. Thank you.